Good evening and welcome to the December 19th County Council meeting. We begin our meetings with an invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which tonight will be by Councilman Terry Hollander. So please stand. Christ, the light of the world, as we celebrate your birth, may we begin to see the world in the light of understanding you give us. As you choose the lowly, the outcasts, and the poor to receive the greatest news the world has ever known, so may we worship you in meekness of heart. May we also remember our brothers and sisters less fortunate than ourselves in this season of giving. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Joe Brazel.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Cronin.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hollander.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Klinghammer.
Here.
Councilmember John White.
I believe we have no public presentations for this evening.
That's correct.
Okay. We're going to move on to the public comments cards. Tonight, we're going to start with the subject of Bill number 4411. Nick Hall, it looks like you filled out a card to come forward and speak. Would you please come forward?
Yeah, my name's Nick Hall, and I'm actually the one that wants to open the kennel in Defiance, and just basically letting you know I'm here if you have any questions or any concerns. So that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have Diane Hillman regarding Hepperman Road. Diane, would you please come forward?
Are these a packet, Diane?
They're all paper clipped together.
Oh, okay. I got you, okay.
I brought pictures and everything, because pictures speak a 1,000 words, right? Hello, my name is Diane Hillman. I'm here to speak about the Hepperman Road project. Back in 2013, the Road Board was presented an application from the Highway Department for Hepperman Road. The application stated the project limits to be I-70 South Outer Road to Burr Ridge. The project description stated the purpose of the project is to address a well-traveled roadway that is in need of significant improvements. The proposed project will widen the lanes, add shoulders, and improve the horizontal and vertical alignments, and possibly include adding curb, gutter, and storm sewers. This application was approved. Plans were drawn and presented at a public meeting in October of 2014. The plan showed I-70 to Golf Club Drive, no longer Burr Ridge. A 2-lane road now became 3 lanes to my house, 1474 Hepperman. The 1-foot addition on both sides now included a 3rd lane. A sidewalk was presented running along the east side of Hepperman from the Golf Club Drive to Interstate Drive. The residents asked questions, wrote the county, emailed the county. Another set of plans were drawn, and they're dated April of 2015. The County Highway Department went to the Road Board November of 2016. They presented 8 projects that were over budget. They are assuming a $5.8 million deficit. They gave various reasons. The one consistent reason was unforeseeable circumstances. At least 3 of the projects were increased in size: Motherhead Road, Jackson Road, and Hepperman Road. However, the Highway Department failed to mention that not only did the length of the project increase, the project description was also modified. As of Ordinance 15085, which is your guys' tip, the project description now reads, funds to reconstruct and improve lane configuration on existing road. I have been unable to find when widening lanes and adding shoulders became a reconstruction project, or that it was even approved. This reconstruction was drawn on the plans that were dated 4 of 2015. This reconstruction destroys the rural road. It invades dramatically on people's property. This road has issues that could be remedied by installing culverts, shoulders, and yes, a foot wider lane on each side. The extent that the Highway Department has taken this is beyond reasonable. The south side of the bridge has subtle curves. The bridge itself is a 25-mile-an-hour bridge. The bridge isn't being addressed. The north side has 2 areas of roadway that needs to be looked into. The county has stated they are working on another set of plans, which I was supposed to wait to say any more until I saw the next set, but I haven't seen those yet. Yet the lawyer that was hired by the county continues to badger the landowners into giving up their land. And I guess I'm done. But you'll see on the pictures, the Badger property, the Boehner property, Boehner property. The Boehner property, if you look at the one sheet, it shows temporary construction easement and how much land they're taking from these people. They have 300 foot of road frontage. They're taking over 8,000 square foot of tree line from those people. So, I mean, that's just an idea of what they're doing to Hepperman Road, and it's a rural road.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Pam Woods, you'd also fill out a card regarding this. Would you like to come forward too?
I have pictures as well that I can show you later if you'd like. What we just wanted to tell you is there's not one person on this road that disagrees that there's something that could be done to improve the road. We do. But we also feel that this project is just overkill. We also think that a lot less destruction could be done. The reason that we are being given that they're having to take out so much is to park their construction equipment there. There's plenty of open ground that it doesn't have to all be wiped out. The acquisition attorney told me that he was trying to convince me that it's only a construction easement. You'll get that back when you're done, but we won't get those 50-year-old, 100-year-old trees back. He's not putting those back when we're done. They're gone. And all we're left is barren land. And so I guess that's all we're really asking is if you could revise it a little bit so that it's not quite so destructive. We moved there for rural, and I understand safety, but some of it is not safe for us residents that are living there. They're taking it up so close to some people's home. One guy has a pickup, and it's not even going to fit in his driveway. That's not really very fair. So we just ask if you could scale it back some so that it could be good and safe for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Mr. Jack Lippin. You want to speak about the CCRB?
Thank you, Councilman. Jack Lippin, Saints Joachim Care Service. And we just wanted to make a comment concerning the CCRB and the fact that Kevin and Ann, I believe it is, are resigning their term, and we just wish them good luck and great support because they've been great supporters of the fund. We don't want to ever see that fund go away because it's helping so many children in this area. And as you know, the Care Service is recipient of a lot of those funds, and we're good stewards of those funds, and we welcome the 2 new members that will hopefully be approved tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for all the service to the citizens of this county. Okay, next we have Mr. A.C. Dienoff wanting to speak about the budget bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It was also the budget bill, the no tax holiday, and the $100 additional fee in the court system. Arnie Dienoff, public advocate and county resident. In terms of the 2017 budget, we need smart, responsible spending from this council starting tonight. Our population has now gone over 400,000, and for some reason, this county is not appropriating or spending the money correctly. In 2016, we had $1.5 million of brand new sales tax, in addition to the other sales tax that we already get. In 2017, the sales tax is projected at $1.8 million to over $2 million a year for every year thereafter. And our real estate and personal property tax has gone up because of increased residential and commercial growth of the county to the tune of $180 million in 2016, and to over, with the building permits, over $200 million of new investment of real estate and commercial properties. We should not put this on the backs of taxpayers while forgetting our 1,400 great county employees. What a slap in the face, while you as county council have the same benefits, the same insurance, the same pension, and the same amenities that a full-time county employee has, in addition to your $16,500 annual salary. The hiring this year of a public information director at a salary of $100,000 to manage a public information manager and a public information coordinator and 5 public information officers. Ridiculous use of our taxpayer money. The director of administration, $182,000. The governor of Missouri makes $133,300. So Ms. Lycum is making $49,000 more than the governor of the state of Missouri, of a population of over 6 million people. And you want to pay lobbyists $151,000 for no to little return on our investment. We don't get any return on investment, in my opinion. Moving to bill number 4417. Parents and students of our community rely on this no tax holiday to get their kids back to school. It will create an unfair playing field, will have an unfair effect on small businesses who have ordered inventory, and will cause residents to go to Amazon and eBay and other internet services starting up on a monthly basis. People will start going to St. Louis County, Warren County, Lincoln County, and other places and start buying their products online, and we will lose more than the $170,000 than we would recoup for the 3-day period. I'm starting an online petition to fight the county council on this, to make sure that all 400,000 residents know what's going on here at the county council. And the final item is, for some reason, somebody has come up with a memorandum in bill number 4416 to add another, I don't know what bill number that is, another $100,000 court fee, which is ridiculous. It's wrong when somebody has something that, I believe it also is falling traffic, to give them, in addition to the $49.50 in court costs, an additional $100 fee.
Please
Thank you
wrap
for
it up.
taking my messages into consideration, and I hope that you vote all 3 of those down and rework the budget to make sure our county employees are taken care of and to make sure that the residents are not forgotten. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Tyler Hinman. Want to speak about in-home daycares. I also want to let you know, Councilman White's not in attendance tonight, but I can tell you that we've actually been, council staff's been doing some research on this, and Councilman White is working on this issue. I want to preface that, but we're glad to hear what you have to say.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
All right, I live at 1014 Reddington Timbers Drive, St. Charles, Missouri, 63304. Tonight I wanted to clear up a misunderstanding that I observed in the December 5th work session video on the in-home daycares. In my statement on November 14th, I did not request to increase the number of children allowed by the county. Instead, I'd like to see in-home daycares as permissive use with the restrictions that I outlined at that meeting, such as giving nearby neighbors a voice. I'd like to go over the county limits with the conclusions that Mick Zur, Assistant Building Director, and I came to, and how they relate to the state's limits. The state and the county are both in agreement that 4 children can be watched unregulated. The International Fire Code 2009, which is adopted by the county, requires extra regulations if there are more than 5 children under 2.5 years of age. This is not a limit on the total number of children. As I understand it, an inspection and permit would be required to watch more than 5 children under 2.5. 8 is the number of children that was somewhat arbitrarily chosen to limit my son's daycare, since that is how many children they had at the time. 10 is the limit, with some exceptions, such as overlap, that the state has set. There are no other relevant limits on the number of children that I know of at this time. I'm requesting that the county does not add any other limits to the number of children as part of this future ordinance. Another point that was raised on December 5th work session was that maybe the limit should be based on square footage of the home. I think this is a great idea. The state license has very specific requirements for square footage. These requirements include at least 35 square feet of usable floor space for each child. This does not count food preparation areas, bathrooms, hallways, closets, office space, or floor space occupied by furniture, cribs, or beds. Assuming the county is satisfied with these requirements, I would recommend that proof of a state license should be sufficient. Thank you for your time. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or concerns.
Thank you, sir. Okay, our last speaker tonight is Mr. David Hardy, speaking on against Bill number 4420.
Good evening. David Hardy, 131 Lamplighter Way, O'Fallon, Missouri, 63368. I'm here to state my opposition to Bill 4420, changes to the employee's PAP. Not the whole bill, just specifically Section 7 concerning changes to the way overtime is calculated. I am asking that no changes be made to Section 115.705.A.3, policy on overtime, on-call duty, callback work, and specialized training duty. After December 22nd, employees who have PTO or comp time will be penalized for taking time off, time that they've earned, should they get called into work for overtime in the same time period. All employees, not just the highway department, will now be hesitant when using PTO or comp time if there is a chance that they may have to work overtime. To penalize an employee for taking a day off for a doctor appointment, unexpected emergency, or to spend time with family is not right. On Friday, December 16th, employees in the highway department started their day at 7 o'clock in the morning, thinking their day would end at 3:30 p.m. Yet some of them ended up working until 1 a.m. Saturday morning, an 18-hour shift. Some of those same employees were back at work at 10 a.m. Saturday morning, working 9 more hours. Other of those worked 9 hours, but their shift ended at 4 a.m. Sunday morning. Employees of the highway department almost never have scheduled overtime in advance. In my 20 years of service to the county, I've only 3 times had overtime scheduled in advance. Yet members of the highway department can and will be disciplined, up to and including termination for failure to report for snow removal duties. In the summary of the bill you received on November 30th, 2016, the last line of this section reads, "This is expected to be a significant reduction in overtime." This can also be implied that this will be a significant reduction in overtime pay for the employees. Ordinance 4405 stipulates that changes cannot be made to a bill without a second reading, but the county council has, quote, "setting aside the county's own rule, not out of convenience, but for some mandated necessity such as a deadline for the budget, capital plan, tax rates, or other time-sensitive matters, the county council recognizes that such bills must move forward without delay," end quote. Since these changes are scheduled to take place on the 22nd of December, I believe that you can make these changes without the need for a second reading. I am requesting that Bill 4420 be removed, or that you amend Bill 4420 and Section 7 be removed from the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes public comments. Do we have a report from the county executive this evening?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Moving on, we'll move to the consent agenda. Are there any items for removal from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, the consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to bills for final passage. Bill number 4409.
Bill number 4409, an ordinance establishing a St. Charles County Law Enforcement Restitution Fund supported by assessment and payment of court-ordered restitution in an amount not to exceed $100, which shall be expended for any county law enforcement-related expense authorized pursuant to Section 50.565 RSMO, including those of the prosecuting attorney of St. Charles County, and further establishing a 5-member board of trustees to supervise the fund.
Questions and comments regarding bill number 4409? Hearing none.
An ordinance establishing a St. Charles County Law Enforcement Restitution Fund supported by assessment and payment of court-ordered restitution in an amount not to exceed $100, which shall be expended for any county law enforcement-related expense authorized pursuant to Section 50.565 RSMO, including those of the prosecuting attorney of St. Charles County, and further establishing a 5-member board of trustees to supervise the fund. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Bill number 4409 passes. Moving on to substitute bill number 4410.
Substitute Bill Number 4410, an ordinance adopting and appropriating the fiscal year 2017 budget for St. Charles County, Missouri.
Questions or comments regarding substitute bill number 4410? Hearing none?
An ordinance adopting and appropriating the fiscal year 2017 budget for St. Charles County, Missouri. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Substitute bill number 4410 passes. Moving on to bill number 4411.
Bill Number 4411, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from PRFF, Park Recreational District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District, to AFF, Agricultural District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District, and granting a conditional use permit for a kennel to Susan J. Shepman, property owner, and Nicholas Hall, applicant and contract purchaser, as per application CUR 16-05.
Questions or comments regarding bill number 4411? Hearing none?
An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from PRFF, Park Recreational District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District, to AFF, Agricultural District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District, and granting a conditional use permit for a kennel to Susan J. Shepman, property owner, and Nicholas Hall, applicant and contract purchaser, as per application CUR 16-05. Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Bill number 4411 passes. Moving on to bill 4412.
Bill Number 4412, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to RR Single Family Residential District, as per application RZ 16-14.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we amend Bill 4412 and replace it with substitute Bill 4412. Bill 4412 requires an amendment by substitution due to the addition of Exhibit C pertaining to a maximum of 5 residential lots.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or the amendment of the substitute a council member would like to offer at this time? Just wanted a brief summary. Mr. Morgan, who represents the LLC that's wanting to put the subdivision in, and the residents in this area have come to an agreement that's everyone seems to be happy with, and it's wonderful. It's at Christmas time. We'll see this at the next meeting. So moving forward,
So this is.
where do we go from here as a point of order?
Mike?
This now will have been met, it has a substitute, and it will be placed on the agenda on the January 9th meeting.
Okay, thank you. Oh, okay,
So we go to Bill Number 4413.
okay. Moving on to Bill 4413.
Bill Number 4413, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from RR Single Family Residential District to A Agricultural District, as per application RZ 16-15.
Questions or comments regarding Bill number 4413? Hearing none?
An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from RR Single Family Residential District to A Agricultural District, as per application RZ 16-15. Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Bill number 4413 passes. Moving on to Bill number 4414.
Bill Number 4414, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with the Northeast Community Action Corporation, NECAC, for a period of up to 4 years to act as the county's agent in managing housing choice vouchers assigned to the St. Charles County Housing Assistance Program.
I'd like to introduce June Tiller. Come on up, okay? For this vote, June is the commissioner that we just approved for the St. Charles County Housing Authority, and she will participate in the vote. Any questions or concerns from the council? Okay, staff read the title and call the roll.
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with the Northeast Community Action Corporation, NECAC, for a period of up to 4 years to act as the county's agent in managing housing choice vouchers assigned to the St. Charles County Housing Assistance Program. Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Tenant Resident June Tiller?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes. Bill number 4414 passes.
Thank you. Good job.
And the newest member of the council has to buy the cheeseburgers after the meeting. Okay. Bill number 4415, Exhibit A has been revised to ensure coverage for a 12-month period starting December 16th, rather than the 12-month period beginning January 2017.
And I'll need to call the title first.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. An ordinance, Bill number 4415, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a professional service agreement between St. Charles County, Missouri, and the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Missouri in conjunction with the Missouri Highway Patrol as fiscal agent and Angie E. Danis as an independent contractor.
And again, Exhibit A has been revised to ensure coverage for a 12-month period starting December 2016, rather than a 12-month period beginning January 16. Any other questions or comments regarding this bill? Hearing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a professional service agreement between St. Charles County, Missouri, and the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Missouri in conjunction with the Missouri Highway Patrol as fiscal agent and Angie E. Danis as an independent contractor. Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Bill number 4415 passes. Moving on to Bill 4416.
Bill number 4416, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute agreements for advocacy and lobbying services.
Questions or comments regarding Bill number 4416? Hearing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute agreements for advocacy and lobbying services. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Bill number 4416 passes. Moving on to Bill 4417.
Bill number 4417, an ordinance opting out of the annual sales tax holiday.
As sponsor of this bill, I move to withdraw Bill number 4417. The administration and the council have agreed to withdraw this bill and continue to monitor revenues in 2017. Do I have additional council members to concur?
I concur.
I concur.
Bill number 4417 is withdrawn. Moving on to Bill 4418.
Bill number 4418, an ordinance amending the 2016 budget adopted as ordinance 15-117 by transferring unencumbered appropriations between line items in the Emergency Communications Fund.
Questions or comments regarding Bill 4418? Hearing none?
An ordinance amending the 2016 budget adopted as ordinance 15-117 by transferring unencumbered appropriations between line items in the Emergency Communications Fund. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Bill number 4418 passes. Moving on to Bill number 4419.
Bill number 4419, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a project contract with St. Charles Community College for services provided by the Missouri Job Center of St. Charles County.
Questions or comments regarding Bill number 4419? Hearing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a project contract with St. Charles Community College for services provided by the Missouri Job Center of St. Charles County. Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Bill number 4419 passes. Moving on to Bill 4420.
Bill number 4420, an ordinance amending sections 115.130, 115.410.A, 115.590.B, 115.600.A, 115.620, 115.670, 115.705.8.3, 115.710, 115.720, 115.721, 115.722, and 115.840.b, and 115.920 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, all concerning the Personnel Administration Plan, including but not limited to benefits.
Questions or comments regarding Bill number 4420? Mr. Brazel.
Yeah, I'd like clarification from administration on section 7, page 16, on the commissary time, why that was stricken and what's the purpose of striking on section 3, why we're striking that out, where they're not getting their compensation for their time.
Sure. Well, Bob can kick in, but I'm sorry. Sure.
Bob gave me a pretty good explanation of this, so
I can have Bob do it if you prefer.
whatever you want to do. It's Mr. Brazel's question.
I'm not sure what that section is that you're specific.
Section 7.
Well, I don't
3.
have it here, Joe. I don't know if I.
It's overtime.
It's the overtime.
It's on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about it? Okay.
Well, my question is, I've had multiple county employees call me, and I just want to make sure I understand this. If you take off, it's comp time, you earn it, you work for your comp time, correct?
I don't.
Compensate, when you have comp time, you work, and then you
It depends on it depends on which employee class you're in.
Well, this includes all county employees, so.
Not all. Only those who are
the hourly ones,
non-exempt employees.
which would be the hourly ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you work and you store comp time, like, for instance, we talked about this with the drug enforcement cops. They don't get overtime, they get comp time, because they work overtime.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct? So if they work 60 hours, they're not going to get paid 20 hours overtime, because they're just going to get comp time. Correct?
It depends on the circumstances. I mean, paid overtime can be authorized by the Director of Administration.
If they're getting comp time, that's compensation for work, correct?
Right.
So these guys, if they have a kid's birthday or their wife, they got something to do, and they take off on a Thursday or a Friday, and then they get called in on Friday night or Saturday morning, snow guys or the drug guys, then they don't get overtime for it, correct? That's what you're saying, you're pulling that overtime off when they earn
get
that.
straight time overtime,
No,
instead of time and a half. That's the
but
difference.
wait a second, now, if you work over 40 hours, you get overtime, right? You get your overtime, correct?
If you work over 40 hours, then the county compensates you either, if you are a non-exempt employee, which is what Bob was saying, at either time and a half in comp time or time and a half in pay, depending upon the nature of the job and whether or not we have, for instance, the police department has some jobs where it's a contract, and so the overtime is actually paid. There are other jobs where it is compensatory time around the county. But yes, if you are a non-exempt employee, so under the Fair Labor Standards Act, you work your 40 hours in the work week, or you work, the police actually work the 28-day schedule, then you earn time and a half, either in comp time or in pay, for time after that worked. What the county has had is a more liberal rule. So, and it became even more liberal when we switched from sick leave to PTO. So you never could include your sick leave in your hours worked, but you could include your compensatory time used or your time off, which is not required under the Fair Labor Standards Act, but we allowed it. So when we went from separate sick leave and separate taking vacation time, basically, and rolled it into one in PTO, all that became part of it. So we ended up paying out a great deal more in overtime in that category.
But Joanne, the simple question is simple. You got a county highway guy that has a scheduled personal day on a Friday. He takes Friday off.
Sure.
He earned that time. That's like getting paid because he earned it. It's part of his pay structure. okay? Either it's vacation pay or it's personal time or however you want to look at it, he earned it for comp pay or whatever. So he takes that Friday off, and then he gets called in at 1 o'clock that night to plow snow. You're not giving him that credit for that Friday. And then if he works, that should be considered an 8-hour workday because he earned that day. So you guys are taking that overtime away from him when he works on Saturday.
Joe, you're attacking us like we wanted to do this.
Well, but I know,
We're
but
facing some financial realities.
but then when it happens, we're the ones who did it. So I'm not saying this is trying
We
to.
had a more liberal rule. We made it even more liberal a couple of years ago. We're cutting back closer to where the Fair Labor Standards Act
Joe,
is.
can I give a little
But no,
background?
but this just goes back to this, just the pay increase with the sales tax. It's the same thing. It's like if it passes, then the county council, we're the bad guys. We had no conversation about this, and I didn't even know about it until the county employees started calling us. And so I'm going to ask the council to have this removed, this section, because we had no conversation about it, and you can't hire somebody. And I understand, Joanne, we have financial problems. I know you're trying to come up with solutions. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but there was no conversation on this. And these guys are hired, all these county employees are hired. This is your salary, this is your package, this is what you get. You can't do a handshake and then change the plan. It ain't fair, it ain't right.
Councilman, I do want to point out to you that the change in overtime was in the summary that went to the council for the bill. So even if you didn't have a chance to read the bill, it was in the summary.
Well, it
So
might have
it's
been in the
not
summary, but
anything
we
we
get
were
so
trying
much,
to
we were
hide
dealing
from
with budget, we're dealing with all this other stuff. A lot of this stuff's, it was a 44-page bill, and once the employees brought it to our attention, it's something to have the conversation on. I don't think this is right, and I won't support the bill at all unless I could put an addendum on and have this just, have where it's stricken, have that stricken removed.
I'll second that. Do you have your amendment ready?
Well, no, all you would have to do is take this, where it's
You need an
stricken on
amendment.
Part 3, just, my amendment is this. I'm going to take on Section 7, number 3, to remove the sections that are stricken.
I have a question for Bob.
That was a motion, and Dave seconded it. So if,
I'd
now,
like to have some further information before I vote on that amendment.
okay.
Okay? The proposed change that you're making, does that put us in more aligned with other counties and other cities in the area?
I don't know. We haven't really, I'll defer that to the HR director. I just want to
what the
say,
other cities and counties do, or is this different?
Not only is this what other cities and counties do, but this is what private sector does. Under the federal law, we only have to pay that premium halftime for hours worked.
If you're going to
So
refer
we're
to
not,
private
excuse
sector,
me,
then we
sir.
need to pay our guys, do we need to pay them like the private?
Joe, she's
Excuse
got
me.
this,
That's a,
So not only, we are paying them for that extra time over that 40 hours, we're just not paying them that premium halftime. So we have people, we have organizations within St. Charles County who not only pay for time worked, but we do have some who include holiday. We are including our holiday. Creve Coeur, DDRB, Library District, only hours worked, no other hours. Only hours worked, and that is what the federal law requires. We're just trying to get in line with that, and we're trying to be more fiscally responsible.
what about MoDOT? What do they do? How do they handle it?
However, I don't have MoDOTs. They are a state agency, and they probably follow the other state rules. The state agencies usually follow hours worked and holiday. But that would be something I would have to check.
so you just named 2, is that right? You said Creve Coeur and the Library District?
Creve Coeur, DDRB, and the Library District, only hours worked. The other agencies, some include vacation, some include holiday, but it's kind of sporadic.
So what's
So
the,
we are including holiday with our proposition.
so what's the pay schedule for the Creve Coeur police officers? Are they in line with our police?
I did not look at that, but I will state that our police officers are probably one of the higher pays in the area.
Well, my point is, though, if you're going to use an example that they do this, then how equal are we across the board? Which I don't know the answer to
The
that
police
either.
officers, we are higher, I know that for sure,
For Creve Coeur? We get-
than most agencies
Creve
in
Coeur,
this
though.
area.
Now, my
I
point is.
can double check that.
Okay, so you guys, so there's 2 agencies in the St. Metropolitan area that they're doing this to. And when you refer to the private sector, They're not the private sector. They don't make the money the private sector says make. So I think this is part of their benefit package, and I don't think it should be cut.
What about the possibility of tabling this?
Well, why don't you just take this stricken part out, and then we can always amend it later if it needs to, but I would just take I can make the motion, and if we take the stricken part out, then it's back to normal, and then we can have further conversations on it. Doesn't this have to be?
If I'm clear what you just said, they will still get the overtime time and a half if there's a holiday involved, but not on a personal time off day. Is that
Correct.
Or comp time.
Or what?
Or comp time.
Yep. Okay.
Which, if you remember, the deputies, the police, the drug enforcement guys don't get overtime. They get comp time. That's what they get paid. It's their paycheck.
Mr. Klinghammer.
Anytime we talk about cutting back on what our employees get, it's, it causes angst, and I certainly understand that. We all work for a living, and no one wants to see a decline in their paycheck. I totally understand that. The world is also changing, though, and this is something that the private sector is already facing. It's not the way, it's no longer become the normal way of calculating overtime to add in the vacation hours as if they were hours worked. If we think about it just a little bit also in this light, overtime was intended for additional compensation because you worked extra, you worked harder that particular week, you had more time away from your family, and you're asked to work above and beyond. If we look at it from that standpoint, if somebody was on vacation, not just 1 or 2 days, but if they are on vacation for the entire week and came in and worked on Saturday, right now, if I understand correctly, Belinda, tell me if I'm wrong, but they could in fact get overtime in a week that they didn't work.
Correct.
They didn't work anything but 1 day on presumably a Saturday. They came in and worked. I don't know that that's really what the intent of overtime pay was for. Overtime, to me, and one of the things that Terry and I were just talking was above and beyond. If we were talking about paying overtime for working more than an 8-hour day, some of our guys that worked the 12-hour days, in my opinion, are they entitled, should they get some sort of extra pay? I believe they should. Anybody that works a 12-hour day, pushing snow around and coming in and working the long hours that they do, and especially in the middle of the night and additional stress, absolutely, I think that they should get additional pay for that. Unfortunately, that's not what we're talking about tonight, so that just kind of confuses the issue.
It actually is. It's twofold, because the comp time, the deputy or the police officers in the drug enforcement, they don't get overtime. Remember, we had this conversation. They get comp time in compensation for not getting paid. So then when they want to take their comp time, if they take off and they have this comp time, using it for comp time, they're not getting, if they keep working, they should get paid for it. They should get their time and a half, and so should the highway guys. These guys got to stay on call. If they don't go out, they get fired. So you're telling me that they get a paid vacation or paid overtime or something that's earned with their compensation, and they got to stay home or whatever. They can't go on a vacation or whatever because it might snow. Because if they don't show up when they're supposed to, they can get terminated. You don't think that that's worth overtime if they earn that time?
I think if they're working more than 8 hours, or if they work more than 40 hours in a week, then they absolutely should. But again, the whole point of why overtime was originally put in was for additional compensation for working, putting additional stress on your mind and body over 40 hours during the course of a work week. If you were, to use your term, you stayed home to take care of your son or your wife's birthday party, I think you talked about. That's not additional. You didn't work. That was not. There's no additional.
It's part of your pay package, though. It's part of your compensation.
I understand that. We're cutting the pay package. That's in a sense what we're doing here.
Well, I got a motion. I'm going to make a motion that.
I got you.
We got a little more discussion here. Go ahead.
We don't even pay people time and a half sometimes. They get time and a half off because we've already cut that part out of the budget where we can't even afford to pay them the time and a half. So we give them just time and a half off. And I tell you, a lot of employees don't like that. If they've got to come in and work, I'm sure they'd rather have a choice and make the decision, well, themselves. Do I want the time and a half off? Do I get paid the time and a half off?
David, I'm not an expert
So
in-
I'm just saying, here's another example of, I think, cutting benefits out and just with the budget this year. I'm disappointed that we can't already figure in a cost of living for the employees to keep up with the economy and then do the budget. Now we wait till the end, and whatever's left, that's what they get, and I just don't agree with it.
Dave, I don't want to argue with you, but we should have been more diligent then on cutting other things out of the budget. This, I think, to quote Bob, was a $280,000 item. If we would have, eliminated $280,000 of something, then I absolutely, that's a discussion that we can debate and talk about. But to take the administration's budget and say we're going to spend more than what was there without increasing the revenue, which we really can't do because we can't pass a tax just tonight, or cut something else out of the budget, we have to do one or the other. Or we're just going to continue to say, well, we're going to cross our fingers and hope that the budget, that sales tax revenue comes in higher than what we expect. That's a dangerous position to be in.
Yep. We have a duty to balance this budget and doing things that increase the expenditures while they might make folks happy. We're not doing our duty. We have to balance the budget. My feeling is long-term, the counties need a more equitable pay raise. The only way we can do that is start working on some type of reasonable property tax. And that's something I plan on committing a lot of my time to at the end of next year. Beyond that, if we want to be clerical on this, it's Section 7 we're talking about. If you're going to try to make an amendment, just Section 7, you're going to have to decide how you want to do it.
Well, so I'd like to make a motion on Section 7, number 3. I'd like to remove the stricken portion of that paragraph.
I think
Go
point
ahead,
of order,
go ahead,
we
sir.
already have that motion on the table.
The motion's made and seconded.
I understand that. Are we clear about what the motion is?
Yeah.
Okay.
All in,
Okay. All in favor of the motion?
say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
3-3.
3-3.
What do you do?
It fails if you only have 3-3.
Then the bill's going to fail, right?
Your motion fails.
No, I know, but, all right.
I don't like that position either. I really
I don't like it either.
If we had a $280,000 cut someplace else, I can easily be switched back over. But we owe a duty to have a balanced budget. That's
Yeah,
our-
but why is everything that gets cut coming off that goes after the employees? I mean, and-
Point to something else then. And I will work with you, I will endorse it, I will try to come up with something else, and that we can talk about.
Let me ask you this. How critical is this get approved tonight? Could this be tabled for do more research as far as finding areas that Mr. Klingham?
The new positions and the 1% raise are in this bill.
And that takes effect 3 days from now.
Okay.
So, Joe, I understand what you're saying, and you called me up here to talk before, and I didn't really get to talk. So you referred to the email I sent to you. Over the last few years, we have done a number of things from the standpoint of the personnel administration plan that enhance the position of the employees. PTO was one of them. They got additional days credit. That PTO is good for either sick time or leave time, depending on what your personal circumstances are. So since PTO has been introduced, what we have seen is the people who had, and one of the reasons why the county executive wanted PTO was because the good employees who were always here, who never called in sick and mounted up huge amounts of sick time, didn't get credit for the fact that they weren't calling in sick. So the county executive a few years ago said, PTO is a better way to go. We're going to give you a few more days. And with that, then, PTO is either sick time or vacation time. So what we have seen since the implementation of PTO, we went from a situation before PTO started where sick time was not included in the overtime base to where now anytime someone calls in and utilizes their PTO leave, that leave is included in the overtime calculation. So employees are now getting paid for calling in sick. It's a big number. We've approved the payroll pay plan last year with Evergreen. Employees in the highway department, lower tier departments like corrections, lower tier workers there, got significant pay raises last year, double-digit pay raises last year, averaging 8% countywide. So at this point, we're just trying to kind of level the playing field a little bit and square the books up a little bit.
If you wanted to address, if you wanted this to say that sick time, you call in sick on a Thursday and then you work Friday and Saturday, then I might agree with sick time, but it doesn't say that.
We did away with sick time.
Sick time doesn't exist anymore.
PTO now.
Sick time doesn't exist anymore.
It's all PTO.
So, but
That's
then
the problem
you
we're
got your
facing.
You got your comp time and it's across the board though. If it was, how do you make it more specific? I mean, you got to have the PTO, I guess that's one of the problems right there.
The bill, verbiage in the bill is basically they're not paying for compensating time, comp time, funeral leave, paid time off, jury and witness leave, law enforcement appreciation day. That's what's in the bill.
Right.
And there is no sick days anymore, it's PTO time.
Why don't, if you guys, you could always take this section out and then we could address it later, where we could have a work session on it in the next, but because they needed to pass for the other positions.
Okay. We have an amendment that failed. That would bring the vote back on bill number 4420 in its entirety. Am I correct as a point of order? Do we Chair will entertain any motions on bill number 4420. If I don't hear any motions, we'll move on to a vote on bill 4420.
I know there, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Just point of clarification on, if we wanted to slow this down and try to find another way, we've got, as I understood it, this is set to go into effect 3 days from now. If it passes, if we don't vote on this at all, what's the ramifications of us putting this on hold until the first week or first meeting in January?
There's a number of things in it, but I think it really comes down to two things in immediate. One is the 1% raise is held up until you do vote on it. And secondly, any new positions that are in here are held up. The PDMP coordinator, a couple of police, the person in the
let's look at those two
prosecutor's
then.
office.
The 1% raise, is that, I know it's more accounting, but can you still add it to the next paycheck to do a catch-up, or is that
No.
impossible?
Actually, the county litigated that in 95, 96
Is that true?
about
Well,
what
those
constitutes
are
a
the guys
bonus
that are-
versus pay. It has to be effective. You have to set an effective date in
Okay.
advance of it going into
Okay,
effect.
what if we pass this as it was written tonight, and Mr. Brazel decides to work on, and Mr. Klinghammer would decide to work on a bill that would undo Section 7? That would give you the ability to move forward, but also give you the ability to come back and revisit that section. Would that be an alternative?
You guys can always change your mind.
Okay.
Is this mostly addressed, is this, the only, well, Michael has a good point. It's you got, is it the police and the highway department, the only guys that are gonna have unscheduled overtime? Like
No.
emergency overtime?
No, I mean, corrections has overtime all the time.
Emergency overtime?
Pardon me?
Corrections?
Unscheduled.
Sure they
Unscheduled,
do.
he's saying.
The other night in the ice storm that we had, I'm sure we had correctional officers who couldn't get there, and they walked around and said, want to volunteer to stay, and if nobody volunteered, they designated who stayed. Emergency management, dispatchers, facilities, yeah, I mean, the departments can all call out the list.
Let me ask Bob to correct me if I'm wrong, but the scenario you were given at public comment, that scenario, and we very much appreciate the hard work everybody did this last weekend. But that scenario, I don't think anything would change, would it, Bob? The way they laid it out? Somebody worked on Friday, they would get the overtime, they would get paid the second day overtime.
Under the new rule. Under the new rule, the only thing that would negate any overtime would be if someone had taken some PTO time, funeral
Prior
leave
week.
prior to the event.
What if they had taken, I'm sorry, if I can, Joe?
Yes, sir.
What if they had taken their comp time in that particular week also? I think that's what Mr. Brazel's really getting to the most.
You can answer that one.
If they had taken their comp time during that week and went over the 40 hours, they would not get that premium pay, but they would get those extra hours paid.
Okay.
Would they get time and a half comp time?
They would not get the halftime comp time, but they would get the straight.
Okay. Mr. Hollander?
Yeah, the way I see this is kind of like a roulette wheel. I take a day off because for whatever circumstances, PTO, on a Tuesday, and all of a sudden we have something on a Friday or a Saturday where I get called in, and now I don't get the overtime. Had I known that ahead of time,
But
I probably
Councilman-
wouldn't have taken that off. But I understand the fact that I did take that time off and I didn't work the 40 hours that week. And that what you're saying is that since I didn't work the 40 hours, then the extra time on Saturday would not be time and a half.
It wouldn't be time and a half, it would be straight
It would
time.
be straight time.
Yes.
Well, actually, excuse me, but we don't know that. Our work week begins on a Thursday.
Right.
Okay.
So the only way that you would end up with that scenario is if someone had taken off Thursday, then worked Friday and Saturday for 16 hours, and that brought them back to the fact that they had taken 8 hours of holiday time, or PTO, pardon me. So that would be the only instance, since our work week starts on Thursday. So if you were taking off the following Tuesday, and you knew you were being called in, depending upon the circumstance for which you were taking off, you would have the option, obviously, of not taking that day off so that you got the time and a half.
One last question. Let's say that I took 8 hours of PTO. I get called in extra, like the highway workers. I work not just 8 hours, but now I work 12 hours. That mean I get time and a half for those 4 extra hours?
Correct.
Over? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. I have a question as well from administration. The budget, it was figured with this rule, correct?
It was figured with this rule in it.
In it, right.
We also were dealing with the fact that we had overtime requests that were above, so we didn't strictly back out any kind of dollar for dollar. We also don't know if there will be a change in behavior.
Sure.
So, I mean, all of that's coming into effect here.
And this might be a question for Bob, but should we not approve this measure, okay, this new rule? How big a hole is it going to blow in the budget, approximately?
They don't have a hole. They don't have a figure, do they? Mike, they have this figured into the budget.
And I can only speak on the last year. We compiled the numbers that have taken place over the first 3 quarters of this year. It'd be close to $300,000 in the general fund.
Can I offer a thought?
Yes, sir.
And everybody's cool with everything in here except for this particular section. So there's no sense of holding up everything else that you've talked about because of this one section. So a happy medium might be to where if we sort of amended this to say, if you take unscheduled PTO, then you wouldn't be penalized for this. But if you took scheduled PTO, then you couldn't get the overtime later. Like you scheduled your paid time off, you knew that time was going to come off. But if you were sick earlier, you didn't schedule that paid time off. So maybe you could work it that way.
We have another issue too, because of the new ordinance. If there's any substantial change to this, does it not have to go 2 weeks down the road?
Well, also,
I see
I'm
Mr.
not sure that we have PTO, scheduled and unscheduled PTO. I mean, it's just
No, we do.
PTO if I.
It's
The thing about unscheduled PTO is that the employees can be written up for having too much unscheduled PTO, and it also affects their performance measure. So if you write a bill stating that if it's unscheduled, then they get the overtime premium, and you have more people doing call-ins and unscheduled PTO, that will actually affect their performance measures. So I don't know if maybe you meant to say that if it's scheduled PTO, that they actually get the premium as opposed to unscheduled PTO.
Yes, I said that backwards.
Also, as a
Sorry.
point of order, ordinance 16-100 that just was recently passed prohibits any change to this from getting approved tonight. It's going to have to go to the next meeting.
We can make a motion to get around that. I'm just telling you.
Well, I think Mr. Hazelwood, okay?
We can.
I'm not sure the distinguished council member for District 6 is referring to, but right now, under the ordinance, if you make anything, I thought it was I think it's a clerical.
I've read 16-100 and had to deal with it today. I mean, this is a substantive change.
Clerical error or other obvious mistake or error, you're triggering yourself into that holdover to the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, might I suggest that we go ahead and pass this as it's written so that the employees can get their 1% starting the first of the year. We can hire the additional employees that we've already scheduled. And then, as we go into, as the county executive said, we can change our mind on this section 7 as we go down the line. I don't see any other way to get around, get this, other than taking this section 7 up at a later period of time.
I totally agree with you if we go with the motion. It's the same thing. I'm saying the same thing you're saying, but I'm saying, let's keep it the way it was and remove the stricken portion of it, then the bill will pass, then we can come back and have a work session on it.
Can't do that. Ordinance
Joe-
16-100, okay?
No, you're not changing the intent of
Yes,
anything.
you are. You're changing it. I would
The
do this.
intent?
It's a substantive change. You're only allowed, the 16-100, I read it very closely, and that's why I voted against it. You're not allowed to do it. You can't make a substantial change to the bill and get it passed tonight by 16-100.
What's that motion that you're talking about, Mike?
It's the one that we passed a few
No,
weeks
but
ago.
you said that you can make a
Mr.
motion
Chairman.
to amend.
Yes, sir.
Again, Mr. Brazel, what you proposed would require the bill to be held over.
Yes. And I think what Mike is proposing, or actually what Terry proposing, we pass this,
Right.
the employees get their raises, okay?
And I think that
We get the
makes a lot of sense.
We get the new employees hired, and then I'm going to suggest that Mr. Brazel and Mr. Klinghammer get together with Mr. Schnarr and try to figure out a way to find $300,000 to maybe make this more fair and equitable for the employees.
Well, I think there's probably a way to, I don't think we're going to need the full $300,000. I think there's a way to make that happen without the full $300,000, because I think there's some happy medium here. But just in the discussion that this is brought up, I'm good with passing this the way it is tonight. If you guys will, on camera, say you'll come back and revisit this section and rework it.
Oh, I have no problem with
No
that.
problem with that.
No problem with that.
Because just in some of the stuff that I'm hearing tonight, there's some other things that came up that I didn't have concerns about, that the more we talked about it, I have concerns about now. And some of that is length of time that the guys are spending on the road doing the job brings up a whole other issue that I'm concerned about now, especially with highway guys and big snow trucks.
It's regulated
You know,
also.
put it this way, you know, I will likely not be chair, but you have my word that we'll revisit this, because you guys out there in the highway department, you do a fine job in my district, and we appreciate that, and I understand your concerns. But I also have a duty for a balanced budget, and I want to make sure that you guys get the raise that's been promised, and we get the extra people to serve the citizens. So doing what Terry has talked about with your concerns that everybody addresses at a later date might be a solution we get this done. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the other option nobody's mentioned here is you can go back to the budget and make a motion to reconsider it, go back, amend the budget, move the money to do what y'all want to do. But you'd have to take it from somewhere else. So if you're ready to do that, that to me makes a lot of sense.
That's a bigger can of worms yet, sir, okay?
We gotta-
Okay.
yeah, That's what we don't have tonight is where else to take it from. So I think the idea of going back and trying to find that later, it will require the county executive to also agree to do a budget amendment at that particular time. So it's something that we'd all have to work, together on and see if it makes sense. Can I say categorically, I mean, that yes, there will be a way to do it? We might not like the solution any more than we like the problem also. I mean, that is a distinct possibility that we could come in and say, well, if we have a little working group or something that comes up with an idea of, well, we cut this and put that, how we figure the overtime back in. I don't know that would get the concurrence of everybody else up here. So I'm willing to say that we'll look at it and try to find a way.
I'm willing to try.
Let's try.
I think that this Bill 1601, I didn't realize the intent of that bill causing these kind of problems, because it really slows down the work that we can get done on this council.
You got her, buddy.
There was a mistake on it, that in the whereases, it said that budget bills were supposed to be excluded. In the body of the text, it did not include that part that was in the whereases. That's the first thing we're going to make a change to in January, is to correct that problem.
Because the problem is, Mike, is revisiting this bill after we support it, you lose the power of trying to get, you lose the negotiation power, basically. So no one has to, since it'll get passed tonight, if that's the case, then after the fact we come back to revisit it. It doesn't matter at that point if there's only 2 or 3 council members that believe it should be changed, because we have no negotiating power after that happens. It just ruins the whole spirit of debate and conversation.
I understand what you're saying, but I also want to tell you that, I hear the concerns of the employees. I want to look at it a little different. I think we need to balance the budget. I think we need increased revenues, and that's how I'm going to look at it down the road. So,
I think we've all agreed that there's going to be a willingness for everyone on this council to revisit this particular issue as soon as possible. But I don't think there's any way out of us not approving this particular thing tonight without causing problems with the raises.
Councilman White isn't here, but I think what we're looking for is someone to call the question. Okay? All right? Okay? Are we ready to move on? Let's do a reading of Bill 4420.
Bill number 4420, an ordinance amending sections 115.130, 115.410.a, 115.590.b, 115.600.a, 115.620, 115.670, 115.705.a.3, 115.710, 115.720, 115.721, 115.722, 115.840.b, and 115.920 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, all concerning the Personnel Administration Plan, including but not limited to benefits. Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
No.
Bill number 4420 passes, and I'd like to tell the employees there that we are going to look at this real hard, okay? Okay. Moving on to bills for introduction. Bill number 4421.
Bill number 4421, requested by Amanda Brower, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance approving a First Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the City of St. Charles for a Missouri 94 corridor study.
Questions or comments regarding bill number 4421?
I got a couple real quick questions. John Greifus, or who is this?
Amanda's
here. Oh. Is this just in the city of St. Charles, or does this go all the way out 94?
It goes to Harvester Road interchange.
Is that where it stops?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Way to make the pregnant lady get up.
Any other questions on Bill 4421? We have no table bills this evening.
We got
Do we-
to vote on this one. Oh, that was introduction. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep, okay. Do we have any announcements or miscellaneous?
I have an announcement quickly. I'd just like to thank Joanne and Chris and Craig for doing a great job with the ice storm we had on Friday. For you guys that don't know, we had 6 buses in Southwest St. Charles County get hung up on the ice, and the kids didn't get back till like 11 o'clock. MoDOT would not respond to our calls. They called, Chris called, we called multiple times. They didn't call. I got a call back from MoDOT today at 11 o'clock. And they said, Chris, they told me, well, they weren't calling the right numbers. Did you know that, Joanne? That's what they, and I got verification from Mr. Hunt that the numbers we were calling were the right numbers. And it's so aggravating. So our snow trucks went out on county state highways to salt for the buses so they could get back. And that's how bad it was.
There was a request made through dispatch, and it's on tape lines via the police and the other side. They were calling the numbers that we always call, and they were not answering the lines. And that's on tape lines from a communication system. So the calls were made. You are correct.
So one of our truck drivers went out at night, and they were going out to get the buses, and the buses would follow them back to the schools because that's the only way they could make it back. And they were trying to make it to Balducci's, and that's when our truck rolled over on top of that school bus on Highway F, trying to do the MoDOT's work. So you guys did a great job, and thank you for doing it.
Well, I would actually tell you, and Chris and Ina and Brad did a great job, and they were in there all night. I was only available by phone, but I would also tell you that our highway workers did a phenomenal job, an absolutely heroic job, as did the New Melle Fire Department. And Chief Massey called this afternoon actually to say thank you, because he, having worked for us at one point in the highway department, he knows how extraordinary it is that we sent county trucks to take over state highways. And he said literally the county highway department workers would bring the salt trucks around the buses and put down salt, because the kids couldn't even get off the bus when they could get them into spots until they could ice them, salt them down. So the highway workers just did a magnificent job, and we're all very appreciative of it, as well as Chris and Ina and Brad.
Yes, sir.
I spoke to someone today whose wife works at Daniel Boone Elementary. She said once all the parents were notified that everything was okay and everything, she said the kids had a heck of a time. But it was like a giant sleepover.
No, it was good. I mean, the kids all had fun and everything. I think the frustrating part from our end, or my end anyway, is that parents, there was no, if MoDOT would call us back and say, like if St. Charles County had a clue what they were going to do, like, okay, guys, what can you possibly do? Can you get out there at 8 o'clock? Can you get out there at 9? What is your plan? That was the frustrating end of it, because I was talking to Chris and Joanne at, 8 o'clock at night, where these parents want to know how they're going to get their kids. But the fact is, MoDOT wasn't responding, and that's the worst part of it. They could have called and said, you guys, you're on your own. We can't help you. There's nothing we can do. Then we would have had a plan B. But they didn't even respond to us, and that's the frustrating part of it. And
Well, Craig has left, but I talked to him on the phone. He was very upset at MoDOT that we couldn't even get an answer from him. So he will tell you the same thing.
And actually, I left Craig out of it, but Craig also responded to the EOC after missing both of his sons' graduations because of the ice storm, and spent the evening in the EOC arranging for where the salt trucks were going. So much appreciation to him as well.
And then one more point. So the county rescued 6 buses and a fire truck. A fire truck was stuck for 6 hours, right, Chris? Was that New Melle or O'Fallon? That was New Melle? Oh, so they rescued a fire truck and 6 buses because MoDOT would not respond or get on the roads. They didn't even salt Southwest St. Charles County till Saturday.
There's a transportation summit coming up pretty soon, or is that already passed?
That was last week, Thursday.
That last week?
Yeah. It was last Friday.
If we have another one of those, maybe Chief could impound those MoDOT executives' cars that come there, or I can bring a water truck and ice them down if it's cold enough.
There was talk, Councilman, Friday night about many options.
Okay.
We are very upset at the maintenance division at
Yeah.
MoDOT. We
Okay.
still
They are a
we
great
still like the
funding
guys that
partner.
give us money to build roads.
And I do appreciate Chris Hunt's both work and updates tonight. I did read it. Oh, Chris, it was good to be kept up. You did a good job. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Joanne and Jennifer and John and Bob and Debbie Salvo, wherever you are, and who else that's worked so hard on the budget. They just do a super job. And, having done that, I just want you to know that, they spend a lot of time thinking about these things. And, this year we went ahead. It was a tough year. I didn't think it was going to be 6 months ago. But because of the cost of the health insurance and everything, it was a tough year. They had to make some tough choices. And, what we presented to you is based upon our projections of what we thought the revenues would be, and then spending that amount. Now, you can and you have basically called on us to spend more. And hopefully what will happen is more money will come in than we projected, and that'll be no problem. But if it doesn't, then the administration needs to start withholding. We've never been in a position where we had to withhold because we didn't have enough new revenue come in, but we did have to withhold, 8 or 9 years ago when we actually had a decline in revenue. 2008. So what you've done, and it's a small thing right now, but this is what happens in Jeff City all the time. The legislature goes ahead and passes a budget based upon their projections, and then when the taxes don't come in at that point, then the governor has to go ahead and withhold all this money. And, everybody has their own cause up there, and everybody's mad at the governor because he's withheld this money and that money and whatever. But it's because the legislature, appropriated more money than was coming in. I'm hopeful that will not become a problem, but I just want you to understand that's everything will be fine as long as our money comes in a little bit higher than what Bob has projected. If it comes in the same or if it comes in less, then we're going to have to do something because we have a charter obligation to not spend more than we have.
Sure. So we want to encourage everyone to have a very Merry Christmas and go spend lots of money in your local stores in St. Charles County. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else this evening?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Move to adjourn.
So moved. We are adjourned.